Are we up and running? Doing a mic check, 1, 2, 3. Here we are. Look, yep, looks like we're coming in. And here we are. Volume seems to be a-okay, so let's drop that down. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. I have been focusing on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition since the release of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica back in 2017. It was the first effort that Wizards of the Coast made to have an official product in the D&D 5e games game engine expressing Magic the Gathering. And I was excited to think that we would see a little bit more conversation about color mana. Alas, they stuck with the 8 schools of magic and spell slots and just kind of veneered the flavor setting of Ravnica across the 5e engine, which is understandable. It's a very minimal approach. Very little work is needed to do so. The design was easy to do. It's just in past editions, if they had attempted something like this, there would have been perhaps a color mana system that would have been introduced that would allow you to devote mana to a color to cast spells, tapping mana to sustain effects. And when that didn't happen, that's what got me started on making 5e homebrew contents. The color mana spell point variant rule system that's on DMsGuild now. So we're expanding that to include all 13 classes that are official in D&D 5e, so that all of the martial classes also have a mana pool that can be used for the different martial stuff that you can do. Like a barbarian gets X amount of rages per day. They also get a mana pool. You could spend mana to get extra uses of rage, or to have different type of smite strike abilities, or boosted movement exploits that are non-spellcasting, that we have clever little rules that wouldn't clash with the idea of not being able to cast spells or concentrate while raging. We want to respect as much of the 5e game engine as we can, modifying as little as necessary to be able to get the color mana mechanics across, to replace the 8 schools of magic with the 5 color magic system, replace spell slots with a mana pool that you could then devote to the colors that are, well, in the case of Ravnica, devoted to the guild. Like if you're Boros, then you would have white and red mana. And we have rules now for martial characters to be able to express their characters through a mana pool system. So we've been developing that system for well over a year at this point, and it's really solid. I've tested at the high end where it's most difficult to design, and it worked great there. So now we've been reverse engineering our way back down to the lowest of levels. I personally had a chance to play test at 5th level using a fighter battle master. It was amazing. If you go to if you jump onto my Discord channel, I have that posted in my videos for folks to see how that playtest went, to see what the action economy and action loops inside of combat and outside of combat are for a martial powers character. I am really, really excited about bringing this to the table. So we're doing a playtest, level 3, 5, 7, and 9 over the course of April, May, June, and July, probably ending sometime in August. If you also jump into my Discord channel, I have an open recruitment there for people to have access to the full document. And we're currently having a poll to see which day of the week it is that we're going to run that playtest. And I'll be the DM, of course. I've got 36 years of DMing experience. I love sandboxing. I love Westmarch style games. I'm pretty good at improvisation, but I can also throw together. I'm also really well versed in 5e, having ran it since, about 2016, 2017. It was about 2016 I think I started playing. I came in a little late, but I've got a good solid 8 years of 5e experience. As well as some 4E experience, a ton, like a decade plus of 3E experience, and about 15 years worth of Redbox, BECME, first edition and second edition experience as well. So hopefully I can make some use of that to build some fun experiences and tools for people to use. Speaking of which, the Ravnica DM channel on Reddit is a fantastic place to go sharpen your knives and your lore about Ravnica and integrating D&D. I just posted that I'm live on the X Twitter platform. I'm at Phil Kearney if you want to follow and find out other things I've got going on. And best way to help support the channel, of course, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when we're live in the future. We're at 350 subscribers. That's fantastic. I really appreciate everyone that keeps showing up and taking an interest in the work that we do. Here's the entire playlist of developing the martial power system here. Here is access to my, let's see, martial power playtest content. It's on my Patreon. You don't have to be a member of my Patreon to access this, but if you click the martial powers button, it'll take you to our playtest document. For you, it's read only, but it will eventually be on the DMsGuild along with everything else that I publish. Most notably, which right now is the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration document that just went silver over the past 20 days. I think that's fantastic, and I'm really excited. So many people are interested and find the work quality. So check it out. It's got an extensive free preview, just like everything else that I do does. And worth noting for people that are color mana enthusiasts and want to explore this space, here is the color magic bundle that I've created, including the revised color mana spell list that lists off to pay what you want, but it's still a silver medal regardless if you can pay what you want. So thank you guys. Full metal, it's the full preview shows the aspects of magic, damage types that are associated with each color: white, blue, black, red, green, as well as a comprehensive spell list of all spells from the player's handbook. If you want to have access to that list for the entire set of spells throughout 5e, I'd invite you to click into the core mechanics. One of the list's playmat and token zip file you get when you purchase includes the complete compilation of spells broken down by color. When we see the new player's handbook come out in 2024, you're going to see it. God bless you guys, 5 stars, 5. That's fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, when this comes out, we're going to reformat all of the entire document to use the design sensibilities that I've developed over time. My ability to produce better page layouts has vastly improved over time. But this currently has a good core set of mechanics for using color mana, but by the end of this year, it's going to be even better. We're going to go through that process here live on stream as well. So strap in. Got some cool stuff going on here. Right now, we are going to revisit. Let me get this out of the way. Bloop. All right, so we are going to revisit. Here are the different hex, the different zones that we've created so far. This is where your ship. This is the starting block that will start in the West March. To the left is West. The goal of the campaign is to get out of the Rebel Belt or find a way to communicate with urban society that can send a rescue mission to fetch you guys out. If the team finds a way to get out, then and if we're mid-campaign, like if by like say 5th level they find a way out, great. We'll just throw a new batch of characters in, have them crash, random up a whole new set of land tiles, and keep sallying forth. So here's our first, second, and third tiles. You can see here, first region, bottom right is blue region and a red tile. That's Zet territory, right? But it's Rubble Belt, so the whole thing is scrap and ruin. It just means that that tech has gone rogue, that no one in the Zet is taking account or attempting to maintain infrastructure. For those that don't know, the Rubble Belt, the whole world is covered in a single city, like a mile deep. So like there's oceans like a mile underground that have been covered over by city over time, and they bore down to basically dig wells to get access to new water. But the world is plagued with 20-mile-long worms that occasionally come to the surface for whatever reason and then sink back down in. And wherever they roam through creates these massive belts of waste and rubble, because whatever the worms collide with is basically destroyed. So there's the rubble belts, or belts of rubble, that are created by these worm migrations. And it could be hundreds or even possibly thousands of years before society goes back in to clean up and redevelop these areas for new urban efforts. And there's probably some sort of cycle, knowing when the worms will rise, destroy something, and sink back below, and nothing is safe. So the Rubble Belt is basically demolished wasteland with hundreds of miles stretching between urban centers. And if you're using an ornithopter to fly from one region to another over the landscape, that's relatively quick and easy to do, unless for some reason your ship goes down and you get lost in the Rubble Belt. in which case you need to find your way out or find a way to call for help. The adventure setup is the Ornithopter is ruined. There's nothing you can gather from it. Get your suitcases and drag yourself out. We're going for a westward march because west is the closest point to find society, and they're expecting you, so let's get our hoof on. If we can find some sort of attack, enchantment, or magic that's still intact within the Rubblebelt environment as we progress through it, maybe we can jumpstart it, get it up and running, secure a spot to wait, call for help, get rescued. Awesome. And then the next team will come in, crash land, and they'll go through the Rubblebelt again in a completely different scenario. But it will be the same theme every time. Lost in the Rubblebelt, trying to crawl our way out. If it were an ongoing campaign from level 1 to 20, you'd eventually find your way out of the Rubblebelt, possibly with new allies, tech, or knowledge that you didn't have going into it that could affect how you want to engage with society in Ravnica once you return to it. That would be a fantastic, fun theme to explore as part of a campaign. But this is just a standalone hex crawl, runabout, muckabout. So you can murder hobo as much as you want, or you can attempt to build a domain in the Rubblebelt to make it your own. Unite different Gruul tribes with the non-gilded sentient creatures that can be found in here. You could target a specific building that was lost, that maybe your plot hook is delve that space, find that lost piece of information, and bring it back to us for reward. There's a number of reasons why characters might want to delve into the Rubblebelt, and you can build all sorts of campaigns around it. So this is basically just us test piloting a random system generator to create different types of challenges and adventure scenarios inside of the Rubblebelt, using Colorland as the base theme of generation. We've spent like maybe 10 episodes prior to now basically building out the pathing to do so. And if you go to this playtest document that we've generated here, it's read-only for you, but you can scroll down with us all the way down to page 115 to get into the playtest design, where we've been using the random the random land generator that we came up with to create different scenarios. And I want to delve a little bit further today into that creation process, because we could be having our session 0 as soon as Saturday. So I want to make sure I've got everything that I need pulled together to feel confident to proceed. So initially I'm going to ask the team to pick one of these 3 regions to start the adventure in, fully expecting us to take a 3 or 4 hour session to complete exploring that tile before moving on to the next one, which will give me a week to randomly generate a new tile for them to dive through and muck about inside of. So we have preliminarily 3 already. I want to start with the top right blue. This is a first region, top right, blue-white tile. The region is blue, so blue is always the common color. And then white is the declared color, because that's what we randomed ourselves into with our land type by color. Which was a simple color roll of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 being the same as the current tile that we're in. Or you can just roll a d10 divided by 2. That works too. Or a d6 could be a reroll, whatever. So if we end up with blue, like here we're ending up with blue, right? That means that blue could be any of the guilds that have blue mana as part of their identity. Whether it's Azorius white-blue, or it's Dimir blue-black, or it's Zet blue-red, or Simic blue-green. It could have been any one of those 4. And the one that we ended up with... Yeah, let's do that one. Let's look at that one specifically. Center is blue on blue. It ended up being a Skyline Cascade. It was the random land that we had rolled. Let's go to... There we go. Let's see. If we roll a blue land, it has elevated surfaces. It has flat surfaces where it's level ground. Up means like a toppled building or floating islands. Flat is just level ground, and then down means it's sunken into the ground, like seeping in, like where water would naturally flow. So you've got a little bit of sky, you've got some flat water space, and then you've got down, which is like cascades, waterfalls, or dredges, right? So each of the land types has a natural gravitation towards up, down, or flat. White goes up. Blue is both. Black is mostly down. Red is mostly up. And green can be up, flat, or down. It's got that versatility. What is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 3 options. They're all equally present across the spectrum of colors over time, each heavily biased to their own. This this tile that we're working on is elevated terrain, blue on blue. So when we go into the actual hex here, or into that land tile, we're looking at blue elevated land, and we ended up with the Skyline Cascade. Skyline Cascade includes mists that obscure vision, which can't target things more than 60 feet away, and have disadvantage on perception checks, as well as high winds that make difficult terrain and wind walls. That would be if we had a hazard, and it looks like we came up with hazards. So challenges in the blue region is obscuring mists, at ground elevation, and high winds, elevated regions. Surface beneath the Skyline so the Skyline Cascade, hold on real quick, let's just take a look at MTG Skyline Cascade. See, here we are, Skyline Cascades. There's water, there's floating islands, and there's waterfalls. So you can see there's lots of mist naturally born into this environment, as well as these elevated islands that are basically floating, that are basically stationary and floating above it. So you have both a ground level, where the team would be starting off at, and an elevated surface. So the elevated, let's see what we get to see here. At the level ground, we have to have a different, since we have since the skyline has elevated islands, there's also a base land underneath it, right? So the base land we rolled up to be Simic Ruins, an untended mutation pool, full of rogue Krasis colonies. So the surface is shallow, still waters with sinkholes. Floating above are D4 times 100 feet are island rocks that the team can get up to and traverse. Shallow caves hide Krasis colonies that are harassed by aggressive pixies under the command of a mad Lamassu. The Lamassu is the boss of the tile. At will, the Lamassu can detect evil and good, can use mage hand, magic circle, sacred flame, and unseen servants. And it has access to Bless, Calm Emotion, Command, Dimension Door, Invisibility, Thunderwave, and Banishment, Flame Strike, Glyph of Warding. Lamassu is going to be a lot tougher than third level characters, so if they want to go fuck around with it, they can. But combat, I mean, they can take it off. If they want to take it off in combat, go for it. The environmental hazards that it has access to in the dungeon lair for the Lamassu is Skyline Islands, with fallen pillars and burnt out libraries. So among the floating pillars is a dilapidated library that the Lamassu is using as its home. The lair is atop a Skyline Island with fallen pillars and burnt out library. There are glyphs of warding that issue alerts to Pixie Guardians if the team attempts to traverse that surface. That's my timer. So let's see. And then the conflict is that the Krasis at the ground level have taken home in many shallow layers in the shadows of stilled islands held aloft by magics. Lamassu believes that the Krasis have hoarded and hidden books from sight, sending pixies in to scout for knowledge. So there's 2 layers. There's the Skyline Lamassu Library, and then there's the Krasis Sunken Colony Network, which is overseen by a Krasis Brood Queen. Let's see, what kind of treasures are in this terrain? One-shot magic glyphs, spell scrolls, books for research. You can gain Sage Query from the Lamassu. You can gain surrounding tile information from Pixies and Krasis. Ooh, that's right. There is a Krasis Sunken Colony, so we need to have a Krasis Brood Queen. Krasis Sunken Colony. Let's go. Shit, let's go find out more about Krasis. This is what we're doing right now. This is the mission. Let's look up. It's so fun. Krasis. Category 1 Krasis. This might be the best place. We can go with... Let's look at a couple of these. Category 1 is going to be low level. Category 2, Category 3, Krasis in general. Creating a Krasis. How fun. Krasis, Krasis, Krasis. Say Krasis one more time. I dare you. Say it one more time. Krasis. Ha 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 ha. Let's see, what do we see? Cat 1 Krasis. What's up there, buddy? Monstrosity, unaligned. Amphibians. What's their intelligence? They're dumb. That's fine. Krasis make 2 attacks. What is your CR? Challenge rating 1. Cat 1 Krasis. 2 attacks plus move plus bonus. Bite Claw. Multi-attack makes 2 attacks. 1 with bite, 1 claw. 2 attacks. So we can use our martial power system to give them action economy. They get 2 attacks and a bonus action if they have one. We always give creatures bonus actions as a sort of like villain, lair, legendary type action that can be used with maneuvers, and we can eat up action economy to boost the bonus action maneuver, or we can forego the bonus action to boost attacks. So we have flexibility where we could do 1, 2, or if we really wanted to, 3 different things per round. But for mooks, generally it's going to be 1 or 2 things that they get to do per round. Let's see, is there anything interesting here to create a Krasis? Choose the appropriate stat blocks. 1, medium, large, or huge. So 1 is okay, and then we can go with category 2 for the queen. Cat 1, cat 2, brood, queen. So let's go find cat 2. Krasis, Krasis, Krasis. CR6. 2 attacks. Cat 1 Krasis. Medium. CR1. Large CR6. 2 attacks plus bonus. Rank 2. Rank 2. No, rank 1. There we go. Grappling strike deals 2d4 plus grapple DC 14 plus 6 hit deals 2d4 bludgeoning damage. And bonus is bonus action equals restraining. Hold DC 14 or restrained. Auto damage 1d4 bludgeon. There you go. That's your Krasis. Amphibious. If I sacrifice attacks, I can deal bonus damage. Sack 1 attack, add 1d4 damage. So like if I have a restraining hold on you, I automatically deal d4 bludgeoning damage. But if I'm holding you, I don't need to do anything else right now. So I can sack both of my attacks and deal 3d4 bludgeoning damage instead of just a single d4. Or, if I'm holding on to you and I can't get the restrain, then I can continue to use my attacks while you're grappled with me. Let's go look at our Cat 2. Cat 1 Krasis. Let's make them... What do we want to make these? Catfish. Catfish haters. Yeah, we'll make them catfish types. Kind of like off Kuatoas, you know? And this will be... this is the Brood Queen. I already have Brood Queen lit in there. Krasis Sunken Colony, Cat 1, Catfish Posse, Cat 2, Krasis, Brood Queen, let's call it Supreme Mud Skipper. It's second rank, so it's going to have more abilities. Let's go check our list of powers to see what kind of cool, juicy shit we can serve up on this Krace. Let's go and look at our reference document for creating monsters with martial powers. This is kind of in the line of Tome of Foes or Flea Mortals, where there's unique actions that creatures can build, but we have a kit that each creature can adopt to, let's see, great stature. Oh, right. Let's keep scrolling. There we go. Here's the sample characters that we built. Magic Paradigm, creatures using power. There you go. So there's brutes and controller, lurker, skirmish, soldier, solo. So when we're applying, these are like basic template kits that you could apply just generically to any creature. But I'm always building custom stuff because I like to make my own action economy as well. So it's a mud skipper. So let's see, CR2 to oh god, it's CR6. That feels a little too spicy for me. Let's go with CR3. I will go AC 19, HP 35, AC 17, HP is 15. Let's see, rolls are +4, +1, like good and bad. And we'll go +6, +2. I can just break down generic +6, +2. Hold on real quick. Let's go visit. I'm going to go back for reference. Let's go back to the color mana system. And let's go to Knights and Tricksters. God bless you guys for such great ranking. Thank you. Wow. 4.9 out of 8 ratings. That's great. Thank you. Let's see. Let's scroll down to... Nope. Wrong one. Here. Here we go. We'll go to building characters. So Knights and Tricksters are quick stats. First tier, second tier, third tier, fourth tier. First to sixth level. So we're looking at good rolls and bad rolls. First tier is good roll is +2, bad roll is -2. Second tier is +6, +3, +6, +3, +2, +1. $25, $50, $75, $100. These are just generic stats. So I can stay somewhere between 25 and 50 for the Brood Queen. 35 feels pretty. Let's call it 40. Yeah, let's just keep it at 50. I want to keep the Catfish Posse with low hit points. These are saving throws. Good saving throws +2. Bad saving throws +1. Good saving throws +6. Bad saving throw is +3. As well as ability checks. Like basically you have proficiency or you don't. Proficiency or you don't. Special 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Total attacks 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit bonus +4, +7, +11. Let's go +4. And then grappling attacks is amphibious. This will be D6s that I'll be using. Let's go find a strike. So I'm going to get this out of the way. Let's go fish for some cool shit that you can do. Scroll up. That's the fighter. Let's look at some strike powers. What are some cool strikes that we're going to want our Queen Mudskipper to do? Caustic Strike deals acid or poison damage and add 1 power die per mana burn. That's not bad. It'll be D6s that she's using. Disarming Strike, Distracting Strike, you deal extra damage, mana burn, and the next attack roll against the target by an attack on you has advantage. Let's just do Distracting Strikes. Distracting Strike is +7. Hit deals 3d, 2d6. Piercing P/B. Allies gain advantage to hit. And the target must make a strength saving throw. Oh, nope. Equal to 1 power die if the attack is made before the starting next. Yep, there you go. Advantage. Distracting Strike, I like that. Let's go find a maneuver, and we'll also give her a reaction. So let's go find a maneuver. What does Pack Tactics do? When you channel this maneuver to target a creature you can see, you and other creatures gain advantage to hit the target until the beginning of your next turn. Shift, shunt lift. It can be up to 2nd rank. So, incapacitator, nah. Lethargy. Target creature you can see cannot move unless it takes the dash action and cannot use bonus actions until it succeeds a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns. Lethargic Stare. DC 14. It's going to be, what is that, Wisdom? Con DC 14. This is going to be Grapple, DC, STR. Dex DC 14, Lethargic Stare, Con DC 14. Move requires dash, no bonus action. So while she has her eyes on you, you are affected. And it breaks if you either finish a con save or you can distract the eyes. This might be, I know some of the people that are going to be playtesting catch this stream. So hey guys, I don't mind spoiling this stuff. There you go. It's cool shit. So I think it's fun. Distracting strike, lethargic stare. And I want a reaction as well. Let's go find a cool reaction. Control fall, curse of exposure. Ooh, as a reaction to a creature you can see taking damage. If the creature is resistant to that damage, nullify it. Nah. Feint, great fortitude, interpose. Roll with the hit. If a reaction to taking damage from an attack, you reduce the damage by half. Lightning strike, opt. As a reaction to failing an ability check, you can re-roll the d20. Parry, punish. Countering attack. No, I don't want to do countering attack. This is considered an opportunity attack. Thank you. Curse of the Fallen. I'm not going to use Curse of the Fallen Puppet because that assumes that your character is going to get killed, and I don't want to do that to you. But moving target. As a reaction to when a creature you can see moves into or within the reach of your melee weapon, you can make an attack, even if the target is using the disengage action or movement. That's not horrible. Once on luck, as a reaction to rolling one or more power dice, you can re-roll any number of dice and take the higher result. Empowered defense. Let's go with let's go with moving target. Reaction. Moving target. How's that work? Consider an opportunity attack. Opportunist. Sack attacks for extra OA. So as an opportunist, it's an enchantment aura effect that affects the creature itself only. Basically, it allows you to sacrifice it has 2 attacks. So I can sacrifice 2 attacks to instead get 2 extra opportunity attacks. And since I have reaction, which is a moving target, anytime anything moves near the Supreme Mud Skipper, she can make an attack against you. Anytime you try to move within her reach. And she's large, so she has a 10-foot reach. So that's going to work out. And let's see. So that takes care of our Krasis Sunken Colony. That's sitting pretty. And I think I'm just going to start them off in this square since we're building it out, and then we have the option, and we can start building out the other options that are around it. Each session they'll attack a square, and if they finish the square, then they can move into another area. We'll have a 4-hour game, so they should be able to suss that out. So I'm going to switch gears here real quick and go into our mapping system. Here are provided by, I believe it was JP that provided these. I'll have to double check that. But these are basically the 20 types of 5-room dungeon configurations. So we're going to go to the Supreme random.org. There we are. I am human. Thank you. And we're going to go to minimum roll of 1 to a max of 20. We're going to get, a 1. How about that? Sure. That's pretty linear. Beep, burp, beep, burp. That would be appropriate for perhaps the Lamasu. So we're going to have 2 dungeon spaces that we're working. We'll go with the high line. We'll go with the skyline. So let's grab an appropriate circle here and black and white everything together. And we're going to put a lock on this here. Dungeons. So we're using these 5-room dungeon shapes to basically sculpt for ourselves. First tile, blue, vertical, raised. There. And we're going to use the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be the vertical lift to get to the Lamassu. And then I want to roll another d20 for the environment, the hex itself. 13, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we're going to start here. And then it goes here, 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 here. So this landmass, this 3x3 block is a 30-mile square. Each of these smaller tiles is 10 miles. So when we zoom in, this is basically our blue tile, and it's a 10-mile space. This is like roughly a 3 miles per square that we're looking at here. I'm going to rotate this. And that's going to be this mass here in the middle. So the team is going to have to go either left or right to be able to proceed through the tile, or the central mass is basically a floating island that goes high. So we're going to build this out at the ground level, which is what we're looking at here. So let's get rid of this stuff. So this is going to be a vertical dungeon. Instead of a horizontal orientation, it's just going to be vertical in nature. So we're going to start off with, let's start at the top, which is going to look like a rock like this, and this is where the ruined library is at, and here's some dilapidated structure that hangs here, but that's one area, two area. This is the downward hang. And then we're going to have another floating rock like this. So there's going to be winds that sweep through here. It's part of the hazard that you deal with, but there's going to be all these low-hanging vines off the bottom of the island that can be used to climb up into the island here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll have the ground here. This is roughly the building that's built into this floating island. This also has lots of vine and ivy hanging off of it that can be used to traverse from the ground to here to here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the 4 spaces, and then we have the ground level here. Let's pull this in a bit. Actually, I like that. little bit of tree terrain here. Trees. I want to keep those intact. So waterways over here. And what are you adjacent to? Hold on. Blue. It's like water flows throughout all this area and it spills into here before it quagmires into into dry land here. And it flows across here and then pours downward here into a sinkhole, but continues to flow across this terrain. So there's always, in the blue tile, since this is a blue region, each tile is going to be modified by the blue around it. So that's kind of what we're drawing and illustrating into here. So we're going to have Crisis Country. And we're going to have Pixie Havens. And so we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here, it could be either Pixies or Crisis. 1 to 3, 4 to 6 on a D6. You'll encounter one or the other. If it's Pixies, they'll go along this way. Again at my map. This next tile is going to be blue. This is going to be mountainside, so this is going to rise up like this, like a mountain here. Building some general topography. Take this here. And then black swamps ahead. And then to the right is plains, so this is going to level out. There we go, some slight environment here. Back to here, got our floating islands. And then, so that's our general environment that we built out. This leads into the black terrain here. This is the mountainous region that is clipping this watermark here before it starts getting encircled. So these are technically separate tiles, and these are each 3.5 markers. So this is the space that we're attempting to traverse through. So we have our elevated dungeon fortress sort of affair where the Lamasu's at the top, and there's pixie soldiers along the way, and then underneath it is where the Krasis are at. So the Krasis are dwelling inside of this space here, and so let's make a 5-room dungeon for the Krasis. So just randomly generate again a 2. So that is our 2. 1, 2 forked. How do I want to express that? It's not down, it's level. And this is going to be, let's roll, I'm going to roll a D4, D4, D4. 4, 3, and 1. So here's our elevations, 400, 300, 300. Now we want to build, okay, so the construction that we have is like this. So how can I fit that in with our dungeon environment? Oops. Could we perhaps... Could we perhaps... Okay, so the first point is here. Oh, I can flip that. There. There we go. Okay, so we have a pseudo vertical space here. We got here, 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 here. This is queen. This is entry. This is commons. Chamber. This is living for the brood. And then here is, let's check our reference table to see what it is that we've got going on inside this space. Untended mutation pools, rogue crisis colony, we have that covered now. Floating above, shallow caves, high crisis colonies that are harassed by aggressive pixies under the command of Mad Lamassu. Lamassu is the actual tile boss. Environmental hazard, glyph of warding in the dungeon lair of the Lamassu. Lair is atop the skyline. Glyphs of warding issue alert. Pixies are charged with scouring the region. Conflict have taken home in many shallow lairs in the shadows of stilled islands. Held aloft by magic. I believe the crisis are hoarding. Have been hoarding and hidden books from sight. Send pixies in to scout for knowledge. And to his credit, he's not wrong. The only problem is that it is, let's do this. Only problem, ooh, I like that. I'm gonna just rebuild. Let's, yeah, let's reconfigure this like that. Cut, paste, flip horizontal. He's not wrong. Only problem is it doesn't care. There is a library that's toppled and buried underneath the water now that the crisis are living in. It's just they don't know what the fuck a book is, so they don't care. The pixies are smart enough to understand what books are, but their relations with the crisis is horrible. So let's see. Let's rebuild this. Brood. So most of the library is submerged. So if you want to get access to that information, you got to get underwater, which means you need to ally with the crisis to get access to it. Ah, very fun. All right, so I think we have ourselves the starting build of a decent set. So let's see. We have at the ground level here, we have pixies versus crisis. And then as you start to, if you wanted to start elevating, then you're going to have pixies causing trouble here. You're going to have pixies causing trouble here. Then you got the Lamassu up here. And then underneath it, you've got crisis 1 here. K1. K1 again here. CR0. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Let's cut this off here. We're going to have lore here, which is actually the treasure that the Lamassu is interested in. This is where K1 is. K1, CR0 Brood Pit. The Queen is here. Water level is roughly partially submerged in the breeding pools for the CR0 creatures. And let's set up these things so that they're cross-connected like that. And then there, and there. And then there. I know that we just redrew the map that they gave us, and I basically ignored the inspiration that we were given, but that's what it is. It's just inspiration. We're doing great as is. So there we go. That is our scenario. And so the team's challenge is to secure this area one way or another. And that will be the adventure for the day. It could actually take 2 sessions to complete because there's both the ground and submerged area, and there's the elevated area. Those are 2 separate dungeon environments. They might be able to pick through one into the other, but they'll have a 4-hour run. So I'm assuming they'll be able to finish 1 5-room dungeon per 4-hour block of time. So if they end up milling about, they'll probably deal around here and here. Probably get through like 1 section, 2 sections, 3 sections, maybe 4 sections. But if they don't choose like the vertical, like to go hard on vertical or go hard on into the submerged area, they'll end up floating someplace in between. Initially, they're going to be dealing with the only intelligent things that are in the region, which is the pixies. Hey, Ked. Okay, start the stream over. All right. From the top. Where are we at on time? Oh, shit. I'm actually out of time. So I've got like maybe 10 minutes left. But yeah, so what we did was we did 3 separate 5-room dungeons. We picked a tile, which was this starting... Dang it. So here's the first style that we're starting with. It's a vertical blue on blue area. We've already determined that the blue high area is floating islands. So here's the ground level, which is basically still water, like wading deep water, amidst little crop up islands that are dotting the area. Then there's floating islands with lots of ivy and hanging vines, bridging the gap, as it were, from one vertical island to the next. At the top of the vertical island is a lore-seeking Lamassu that's nesting in a floating library. But half of the library long ago toppled and is underwater here, represented by these 2 spaces here. This is a Krasis, basically sentient crawfish creatures that like a chol, I guess, that have made a lair here. The Lamassu has a tribe of pixies that it's taking command of, and it's charged the pixies with finding its books. It knows that half the library is gone, and it suspects those creepy Krasis have stolen his knowledge, and he wants it back. Krasis don't even know what a fucking book is. But he's not wrong. There's the library is there. It's just sunken, and where the most sensible access point is where the Krasis breeding ground is. So if you try to go anywhere near the library, the Krasis attack you. So the team has to figure out how to get through this region. They are charged with resolving this tile to be able to move their non-com through the region to secure safety. And I'm just arbitrarily deciding this is the first area that they're dealing with. If they can get through this space, they could try to find high ground the next session into the mountains. They could catty corner into similar flooded areas. They can move forward into swampland, or they can move vertically or diagonally to move into plains. And each of these have their own problems. Yeah, it's functioning pretty well. So we have we have 3 dungeons that we have to make. In this one, there's the elevated floating islands is its own dungeon space, which we allocated to here. We rolled a 1, so we just did a stick row. And then we got 13, so that's 10, 11, 12, 13 for the actual hex itself. So you start off here, and then you either go around this way or you go around this way. If you go around this way, you get into Krasis country. If you go around this way, you get into Pixie land. And the pixies are would guide upward. So if the team is going to get harassed, and I've already got a couple ideas of how the pixies would be the first things to harass you. But there's basically a 1 and 3 on a D6, and when you start off in this land here, you're either going to get pixies or Krasis that you're dealing with first, and that's going to start shaping the opinions of the team as they enter the environment. If they hook up with the pixies, that'll eventually lead them upward to the Lamasuo, which has a job for them to do, which is go back down and dive into the Krasis and get the books that it wants, not knowing if the books are even intact to be gotten anymore. It just needs to know. If you start off with the Krasis, they're dumb as shit, but they do have intelligence. The Queen is far more intelligent than them, but they'll view the creatures as a hostile. If they attempt to traverse this water space, they're afraid that you're attempting to get into their breeding pools to kill off their future swarms. So they're going to try to push you away. And if the team meets strong opposition, they might get driven towards the pixies anyway as a more optimal path. So they get beat up if they go towards Krasis. They get harassed or trickstered by pixies if they go this way. And both paths should lead them upward. But if they go downward, they'll end up finding the Supreme Mud Skipper, which is the Queen of the Krasis, that's at the bottom of submerged area underwater. So you won't mess with her unless you're specifically going after her. The Lamasuo could provide a means for the team to be able to breathe underwater by providing an enchantment sigil that'll last, like, say, 8 hours. For them to be able to traverse underwater to start messing around down there to hunt, but they'll have to fight a lot of Krasis while they're down there because they're invading the territory. So far, any pixies that have gone underneath haven't come back. So it's a hostile environment that the Lamasuo is not properly equipped to handle. So it will recruit you to go down in and find out about that region. Whether the team decides to befriend the Supreme Mud Skipper and the Krasis or not, up to the team. But if they do, they can find out information either from the Lamasuo at the elevated height. They'll literally have enough height elevation to be able to see what the other terrain tiles are like. They'll at least get information about the region in general. Or if they go with the Krasis and get information from the Queen Mud Skipper, she'll be able to tell you about the swamp tile and the water-soaked regions here. So you can gain information from either of them. There'll be some treasure that can be picked up in the form of different, like, token enchantments, like one-shot magic items, because I'm a big Cypher fan. I love one-shot items, whether it's like something that they would eat, or rub into their eye, or stick in their ear, or inhale, or whatever it is that they do. It'll give them some sort of temporary enchantment that'll last while they remain within that area. That's the general gist of it. So that's my plan for the first playtest. Renewable combat stagnation. And instead of it being timed, it can be by the region. Like, it's a blue-white tile, so it'll be able to provide blue-white enchantment effects. But if you move out of the tile, the magic fails because you've moved too far away from that tile to sustain the enchantment that the Lamasuo puts on it. So all the enchantments are location-based instead of time-based. As long as you stay inside the tile, you receive the blessings that you have. But you also have to deal with any curses or maleficence that you're having to deal with, plus the monsters. So the idea for the playtest is to stay within this area. And this is a meta game. The meta aspect of it is that you're staying inside of this region. For the playtest session, it's a 4-hour game. Your job is to stay inside of this environment and fuck around and just find out what you can. And at the end of the session, when we renew, you can either decide to stay inside the session or you could move on to an adjacent tile to explore that area instead. But if you aren't able to find some sort of a resolution inside of this environment, it's still considered a hostile presence unless you can make peace with both of the tribes that are present in that area. So if you attempt to bypass this and, like, go up the mountains, you could continue being harassed by pixies. If you try to go across to the mountain tiles, the plain tiles, the pixies could still harass you. If you decide just to push through into the swamps, then you're basically leaving your caravan behind, so you can't. You're going to have to either secure one of these tiles for you to move your caravan out of the starting block into a tile. So every time you want to move your caravan, you have to basically defeat that tile one way or another. So you can get stuck on it, or you could try to dodge and go to another tile the next session, but that means that this is going to be a continuing harassment, either by pixies, by elevation, or flatland means that Krasis are going to come after you. But you can't advance into the next row until you secure one of these as a thread that you can push your team through. So they're going to start. They're going to start in here. So you got to get. They're going to start in here, and you have to move them through one of these tiles to be able to proceed further into the into the Rubblebelt. So that's the rules. The rules condition of the game is that you can't move more than one tile away from where you left your caravan. Otherwise, your caravan is unguarded, and all the non-combatant NPCs get eaten by monsters. You get eaten by a ghoul. So you can't leave them too far behind. You're intentionally attempting to scout ahead to create a safe path for your non-com NPCs to advance through the environment with you. That's like the meta game of it. So each session, you stay inside one tile. That's the rules for the playtest. You stay in the tile that you're starting in, and then at the end of the session, if you haven't defeated that tile yet, you can choose to continue attacking that tile, or choose a different tile that maybe you'll have better luck with. If you crack open a tile and you don't resolve it, it then gets added to the random encounters that you might have to deal with in the next tile. So if you don't solve a problem that you start, you just have more problems. So that's the rules of the game. So it's very gamified, but if this was to be added to an ongoing campaign, then time space wouldn't matter nearly as much. You could just freewheel, like if you don't have a caravan with you, you're just drifting through the Rubblebelt as a team of 4 or 5 characters, you don't have to worry about those rules. But if you are specifically doing a the caravan style campaign, those are the rules of the caravan. So, and if it was an ongoing campaign, you wouldn't have to worry about 3 or 4 hour blocks. You would just have to make sure that you're not moving too far away from the caravan, so you'd be able to freely flow from tile to tile. But for the DM sanity, it's nice to be able to have it condensed to, we're only dealing with this tile this session. So that's the thought process, which gives me enough bandwidth. Since we're going to be playing once a week, it only took me about 50 minutes to make up that scenario and crack out some cheap shit stats for the creatures that are involved. I'm pretty good to go. That wasn't too difficult. I'm going to build out the pixies on Friday. And then our first playtest, it's either going to be on Mondays or Saturdays. Those are the 2 days that are ahead in the polls right now. So on Friday, we'll build out the pixies and the Lamasu. And then I'll be ready for, I'm just going to arbitrarily assign them going to the central blue tile as their first location that they're going to. Just because it's elevated, it'll give them a better read of the land. If they can get to the top of the floating islands, if they can climb up there, then they can get a really good look at the land around them for them to decide, maybe we want to head off in that direction. That might be a good way to go. So the logic there is that they're starting with an effort to get to high ground first. That's the objective that they're given at the beginning of the adventure. Climb up these islands. Oh, fuck, there's pixies. So now you're dealing with that stuff. And if they fall, the water's deep enough that it won't kill them. So even though they're third level characters, it'll soften their impact so they just hit the water and they don't get killed by it. So it's a really safe environment for them to fuck around and find out inside of. So anyway, that's the idea. Yep, just got to, yeah, for as far as like a product to put out, yeah, it's super scrappy ugly. And I honestly don't, like when I'm actually actively DMing, I don't provide detail. I mean, this is real scrap looking. But like if I build the Krasis waterlogged area, like this will be like, here's the drain that goes underwater, here's the entry point. It's partially covered cavern space that opens up into a small water area with an embankment here. If you go up the embankment, now there's some forest up here. Like pencil scratch this as a DM. This is kind of how I build. This way, the team never knows if I'm making stuff up on the fly or I planned it. But it's always shitty. But as far as a final product goes, yeah, I could make this stuff all really clean looking and build like little land tiles that could be cooked together to be able to build out these little dungeon environment things. There's potential there. There's a lot of potential there. My main landing page is mostly just an area of me to scribble. Yeah. Well, in my own home games, this is a playtest, so it's going to be map intensive, like plotting tactical movement and stuff, like deep 5e style. But when it's my home table, it's almost always like 90% of it's theater of the mind. I just keep it loose and like that narrative, like that easy D20 system that I came up with, that I'm running our Rubblebelt through right now. And even when I'm playing a more traditional 5e campaign like the time travel one, it still had very loose maps. But if I'm going to build this out into like an actual product, then I'm going to have to start building like sample terrain sets and stuff like that, which will be a really fun. It's basically just a bunch of landscape painting. I fucking love doing that stuff. So, but yeah, this is pretty much, I think, where we need to be at. I've got 2 minutes left. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it here, call it for the day. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning to do more Eberron map environments for the dungeon that we're building. That'll be Wednesday. And then Thursday, I'll be back in the morning again for more Eberron map building. I'll probably be finished by Thursday. I hope I'll be finished by Thursday. And then Thursday night, we'll do more Spelljammer, Vocast base being turned into a mega ship. And then Friday, we'll come back in the morning, and we'll probably be working on Eberron tokens for the dungeon. And then Friday lunch, we'll be back to work on the Pixie and the Lamasu Sky Fortress. So that's where, and then it is potentially Saturday or Monday is when we'll start playtesting. So if Saturday is chosen, I won't be here on Saturdays anymore. If Mondays are chosen, I won't be here on Mondays anymore in the night, in the evening, because that time slot will now be, whichever that is, whatever that time slot is, will now be playtesting. So I'll stay off screen, DM for 3 or 4 hours ish, and do that once a week. We'll be level 3 for a month, and then we'll be level 5 for a month, then level 7 for a month, and then level 9 for a month. And if that goes well, that means that we'll be able to move through. I'll probably have to build some extra tiles wherever they move through, but they'll basically have a chance to move through 16 of these land tiles, which will be plenty of time for us to see if there's enough biodiversity, enchantment diversity, hazard diversity to make each tile unique from each other every adventure. And if that remains true and we're having fun with it, we'll know the martial power system works just in general. I love playing it, but that's just me. Got to get other people's input. And we'll know if the hex crawl system is strong enough to be able to put out as a product. And if it is, Bob's your uncle. Sally forth. If it isn't, then we'll reapproach it. But it's feeling right so far. So far, so good. Anyway, yeah, thanks, man. Ken, I'm glad you dropped by. Thanks a lot. And I'm out of here for today. Anyone that's interested in this stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications of when we're up and at 'em in the future. And I'll be back tomorrow morning doing more Eberron stuff. So hit save, and I hope to see you guys then. Thanks a lot.